This
replacement.
conference will now be recorded.
And then, so it was about 3 or 4 weeks after that, which I had already started hydroxyurea. And then I went up to Mayo, and the doctor up at Mayo told me that if I went with her, she was going to treat me for PV, the polycythemia vera. And I sort of like that doctor better. And again, I met with her for probably an hour and a half. And she did say several times that she could be wrong, but she's going to treat me for polycythemia vera. And that's what I hope I'm getting treated for instead of the myelofibrosis. But my understanding is even with the assertive thrombosis, any of those blood types and the PV is it could eventually in years down the road lead to myelofibrosis.
So yeah, this person, they don't, yeah, she was having problems with her legs, feeling pain and exhausted, and she never had been before. Yeah, and she's just been at a little community hospital, and I'm just like, you need to get in. You need to go see someone who knows what they're doing, because, and I think I know that Rick had guided you that way too, because she's
Yes.
getting worse when she could just, and she doesn't live far from Boston. She lives like 30 minutes from Boston.
Yes.
There's a few different places.
I was also telling Rick on Facebook, I think probably because my wife Googled it years or months back, the polycythemia vera. So now it pops up on Facebook. Well, a page popped up and there were something like maybe 38, 40 some comments. And, you know, I know we practice be your own advocate, but I don't like to read any of that. You know, what you're going to read, are you going to fall into what you're reading, the same symptoms the other people have? But I sort of, you know, just flashed through the comments. Then it came up again a couple days later, and then a couple days later. Well, today it was over 200 comments, and the majority of the comments is people who have it or they know someone who has it. So it's really not that rare.
Now, I'm going to start introductions, and since I am Michelle Nadine Baker, but I think most of you know that I'm a CLL patient and advocate, and Al was just speaking with us. He has been with us, I think, since our first or second meeting. We're a rather new support group for those of you who are just joining tonight for all blood cancers. And I'm going to hand it off to the next person in my Hollywood Squares game here, and that's Richard Farmer, who's another co-moderator. Richard.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to our group of well, I'm not sure. No, our group of folks who are also, I guess, share some form of cancer or another. I have multiple myeloma and have in my 6th year of doing that, and am retired from university work, and I'm really excited about being here because I enjoy kind of sharing and learning from everybody, and sharing my thoughts and listening to how y'all are doing it. So, welcome, Kenny.
Well, hello. Hi, everyone. My name is Kenny Capps, and I am the executive director for an organization called Throwing Bones for a Cure. We focus on encouraging blood cancer patients to stay healthy and active through treatment. And Rick kindly invited us to co-host this event because of all of our interest in being advocates for patients like y'all. And I don't know, Michelle, if you had already mentioned this earlier, but if you are not talking, if you wouldn't mind muting your microphone when you're not talking, because there's a lot of feedback in this room, depending on what you might have going on behind you, or sometimes it can even pick up your own voice while you're talking. So it gets in a weird loop. But anyways, I'm stoked that y'all are here, and I really encourage you to ask questions, talk about things that make you happy, sad, pissed off, or even if you just want to ask questions about what makes other people happy, sad, or pissed off. So, anyways. And feel free to reach out to me directly if you want to private message me too, or find me in some other forum or social media. You're welcome to do it.
Rick is our fearless leader. Rick, you want to pop in and say hello and let everyone know about AnCan? Who's our wonderful organization.
I since I'm not a blood cancer patient, I don't live with blood cancer, and this is a peer group, I tend to sort of fade into the background and just give the moderators, the organizers, the moderators a little help along the way. But they're pretty close to flying on their own. So then I don't have to show up at all anymore. But yeah, AnCan now runs 28 meetings a month, virtual meetings for 12 conditions, or it will be 12 conditions come the middle of December when we add a thyroid cancer group. So our MO is navigation, support, and advocacy. And what separates us from other organizations that do that is that we were probably the first to use virtual support groups going back to 2011. So when COVID came, we were already pretty experienced in how to run a virtual group. And so our job is just to recruit the moderators and get the word out and to train the moderators so they can run the group without me. And that's it. I'll see you guys later. Okay, goodbye.
So now would be great to go around the room. I see that a few people have muted their cameras. So let's start with those who are with us. Ashley joined us first this evening. Ashley represents our young adult group. Ashley, would you like to introduce yourself and share which blood cancer you have?
Sure. Hi, I'm Ashley. I had acute lymphoblastic leukemia, diagnosed just over 2 years ago. I am in remission. I was supposed to get my year-and-a-half bone marrow biopsy in October, but unfortunately, couldn't. I have to go to New York and stay with my family, but my family actually got COVID, so I couldn't go there. But they're okay now. So I have my appointment soon. But yeah, that's it. It's going well so far.
Thank you. And Al, we met you, but not everyone knows you as well as some of us. Would you like to tell everyone about yourself and what brings you here?
Yeah, I'm Al, now from Tucson, Arizona, and I'm having to be a good friend of Rick, the AnCan founder. And I was said earlier, I was diagnosed with polycythemia vera earlier this year, and here with this group, and it's great to just talk to people and other people who have the blood cancers.
Thanks. And Lisa, you haven't been with us here in a few months, I think. I think you were with us one other time, right, Lisa?
Yes, I was with you, I think 2 months ago. I was too tired the last time to be on the call. Sorry, my cat just fell off the dresser. I have to check to see if she's okay. She's okay. I have chronic lymphocytic leukemia like Michelle, and also small lymphocytic lymphoma, the CLL, SLL. And I was diagnosed 2.5 years ago. I had first-line treatment upon diagnosis, and I've been staying out of treatment since then. So it's a crazy ride.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to sharing later on about some of the things you've been doing and your blood count. But first, let's go to Rita. Are you there? Maybe Rita will be back with us. And oh, there's Rita. Do you want to turn on your camera?
Okay. Can you see me now? All right.
We can.
Okay. I was diagnosed 10 years ago with CLL and started treatments in January with Imbruvica.
So you did
I don't.
this
sorry,
past
what?
January you started? That was your first treatment?
Yes.
Terrific.
Yeah,
So
I went
nice
10 years without it.
Long
And I'm
watch.
sure I had it. I'm sure I had it for many years before I was diagnosed.
Okay. And Seth.
Hi, there we go. I'm sorry to attend with my camera off, but I only got home about 20 minutes ago and I'm just have to get some dinner in me. I didn't want to do that in front of camera.
Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you. This is actually the first support group I've ever entered for my cancer. I was diagnosed with myeloma, multiple myeloma in 2014, and I had a stem cell transplant in the spring of 2015, but I only got about 18 months of benefit from that before the cancer started up again. I'm currently engaged in a clinical trial with Memorial Sloan Kettering and responding very, very well to that trial. My cancer is very well controlled, but most of my time is spent dealing with all the side effects of the treatment or just dealing with the damage that was done to my bones in the time it took me to get a diagnosis. Unfortunately, myeloma did a lot to my spine and other bones before it got diagnosed and I got treatment. So that's where most of my complications come from.
Thank you for sharing that, Seth. We have 2 other multiple myeloma patients here, 2 of our hosts, Richard and Kenny both. And sometimes we have some other people join in along the way. So you're in good hands. We'll be gentle if it's your first group. So we'll make sure. We won't get too wild and crazy tonight like we do sometimes.
I make no promises. I've been drinking, so it's all bets are off.
Go ahead, do your worst.
I am drinking.
Yeah, I'm waiting for mine to be delivered.
The time.
Thanks for joining us. And Rita, will you be dancing for us this evening if we all drink a lot?
I don't think so. Not tonight.
Maybe next week, right? Tuesday.
Yeah, if I get everything working right for that.
Well, Michelle, do you have any set agenda for tonight that you wanted to discuss now that we've kind of introduced everybody?
Yes, I would love for us to each talk about. We do have some new people. I would love people to share with us if there's anything right now that they're going through, or it's a very stressful time for people who don't have a blood cancer. Yeah. Keep hearing about it on the news due to everything, between the elections and COVID. So I'd love for people to let us know what how they're coping, and perhaps share with us all if they are coping or not, and we can learn from each other and also help each other.
Don't forget murder hornets and hurricanes. So I mean, we've got all sorts of stuff going on. So
Going in the mountains in North Carolina. Okay.
Yeah, and we're
all
from
right.
all over the country here, so we're getting some really good local color here from all around the nation.
Yeah, it's tough all around. It's tough all around.
Yeah, to kind of pick up, I think where Michelle and Kenny were talking about, and that is, um, as we all enter into the second phase, I guess, of the of the pandemic, how does that sort of strike you? How does that affect your life? I know for me, feeling more and more and more isolated, um, at least now in the state of Maine, where I'm from. The governor has said as of today that if you are outside off of your property in any context, you must wear a mask. And so I'm a walker, and you know, I don't wear a mask when I've been walking. But the governor's order is now, doesn't matter whether you're 6 feet or 9 feet away, you have to wear a mask. And if you don't like it, the police are authorized to come after you. And local merchants are authorized to refuse service to you. So it's interesting, you know, as we now have gone through this time period. I wonder what y'all are thinking about it. Sort of picks up from what Michelle and Kenny were saying.
Yeah, it would be great to hear what each of you are going through at this particular moment, and related to your therapy or treatment, and if anything that's happening right now is affecting that.
Well, early on when I live in Jersey City. For those of you unfamiliar, it's just across the Hudson from Manhattan. And I was getting all my treatment at Sloan Kettering in Manhattan. And so at the very beginning of the crisis, they weren't taking any appointments in town. They didn't want to expose anybody, take the risk of exposing anybody. So I suddenly was doing all these visits as over video. And fortunately, they have some centers in New Jersey that I was able to go to for my treatment. But it's been, you know, for most of the time, a video call with the doctor is okay. But after a while, you develop a feeling of losing that familiar touch with face-to-face communication that, you know, is hard to put a finger on. That's something I've had to learn to deal with as far as my treatment goes.
So when's the last time you actually went in to see someone?
Well, the restrictions have gotten better or looser. I saw a doctor just last week in person, but there are some other doctors. We're still doing it by video chat because it's, you know, the doctor I saw actually had to examine me. But for most of the other ones, it's still perfectly fine acceptable to do it over video.
Do you feel that they're missing something when that happens? Is it fear?
As I said, I think there's a rapport between you or the nurses that, you know, after a while, you seem to lose touch with. That bothers me a little. Yes.
Ashley, you had mentioned you're supposed to have a bone marrow biopsy. I'm just remembering. Is there, can can you tell us when that's going to happen and how it, and are you also at Sloan?
Yes. So I had a stem cell transplant last year at Sloan, and I was supposed to get my 1.5 year bone marrow biopsy October 1st. So my parents got COVID, so I had to move it until they were better. So now my appointment is on the 19th of this month. So looking forward to getting it over with. Yeah, so I don't live in New York anymore. I live in North Carolina, so I'm gonna drive on the 17th, drive to New York, and then I'll go to Sloan. I was in New York earlier this year, and I was there when when the COVID hit, and it was nuts. I had to go in for something, I forgot what it was, and it was like a fortress. They had, I think, 3 separate sections of people who asked you about the COVID symptoms and have you gone anywhere and whatever. And I mean, I don't blame them. You have to be careful. And honestly, like, people lie because they want their treatment. They're scared to go without it, which is scary because, you're putting yourself and others at risk. But yeah, now at this point, I was talking to integrative medicine at the hospital where I am, and they had said, oh, acupuncture might be good for you, and I'm hesitant to do that because I have to be around other people, and I'm just going to put it on hold right now. And like, I need physical therapy because I've had a hip replacement, so I'm just nervous about being in the hospital with other people. So I do need physical therapy, but I'm hoping I can get it like a video visit and do stuff at home with them instead of going there because I don't want to be around people. It's just too scary. And I know, unfortunately, I know 2 people who have passed away from COVID, and like, it's real, and it kills people. People don't get that, and they're selfish, and they don't wear masks, and they do whatever, and it's horrible because they're killing other people.
I'd love for all of you to speak amongst yourselves, those of you here, about, actually, that's a great topic of how you feel when you go in for your medical care or not. Seth, Ashley is talking about kind of the other side of it, but I would love for people, it's okay to leave your desk and go talk to your mates next to you here, and just talk about this, because I do know that there, regarding going into the hospital, for me, yeah, I hadn't gone in a while. When I finally went, it was good to go. I know Kenny just recently was not in, but at the hospital for quite a long time. Maybe you can share how that was like. And, this is probably going to be all people's own opinions, but it would be great to hear from everyone, and reactions to each other on preferring to, see people remotely, because things are going to go that way, and probably some things will stay like that, digital health.
Yeah.
This would be pretty cool to hear.
Where I live in the mountains, North Carolina, it is not, at least on the oncology side, we have not been doing that many or not. It's not been as big of a deal, and maybe it's because we don't have the population density that a lot of other places do. But we have not been doing a lot of the virtual meetups with physicians, the urgent care sort of format, really. At least not a lot locally. However, my primary, I guess you could say, my bigger team treatment option is down in Atlanta at Emory, and which is about 4 hours away. And I have actually had some interactions like that, and again because of what's going on right now. And it's also leaving, um, uh, I think, leading to some more opportunities for organizations that do that. So, so with my different, and so what that's also leading to is I've actually had, so since this started, I've actually had interactions with a PT, physical therapist. I've spoken with physiologists, and now on what in my day job thing, not about me as a patient, but I have interacted with a DO in California many times on that same sort of thing at Cedar Sinai in Los Angeles, a coach in Minnesota. And again, and these are all people that we would be dealing with if we needed to talk to them as patients, to do things to be better, to have different treatment options and discuss those things. And so this is opening up, I think, opportunities to communicate in different ways. So I'd be curious as to whether if any of you are experiencing that too, or if you had those opportunities. How are you communicating with people when you can't go see them? I mean, how are you dealing with your doctors and others, not just your oncologist, but anybody that's actually helping you be more you? Anyone jump in, wave your hand. Lisa?
I have zero problems. I have zero problems navigating right now. My husband had 2 massive brain surgeries for a brain tumor in February at Mayo, and because of his brain tumor and because of my cancer, we have to keep going to all these appointments. And
Where are you, Lisa?
I'm sorry, I'm in Jacksonville, Florida.
Okay, right. Okay, so it's at the Mayo in Florida?
Yeah. But I received my treatment at Mayo Cancer Center, which is not the main Mayo. It's actually like a half hour away from their campus. It's at a local hospital.
Okay.
So we haven't had any problems navigating. The only problem, and it wasn't really a problem, it was more of a inconvenience when I had to have the bone marrow biopsy in June. I had to go get the COVID test and do all that. And, it was an inconvenience. But other than that, have not had any problems. My primary physician, I can get into her quickly. So she's keeping us going.
So let me see if I can try to get at that in a somewhat different way. What is the best conversation you've had with your oncologist? What as you walked out of the room and you said goodbye, and you feel sort of really good because you had a really good conversation for once. You were talking more about something that was meaningful to you and perhaps less meaningful to the oncologist. Can you think of one that you'd share?
I can.
Go for
My
it.
oncologist was ready to start treatment on me on a Monday, and on a Friday I called her and I said, no, I am not doing this. I don't think it's related to the CLL directly. I think it's indirectly related to it. And I think I need to try some iron infusions before we go down the treatment road again. So we did that. That was about 3 months ago. I haven't had treatment, and I'm doing okay. I'm doing great.
Lisa, and why did that, why did that make you feel good? I'm assuming it made you feel good.
I'm my own advocate.
Okay.
Nobody's going to tell me when I need treatment. I'm a scientist for one. So, I'm able to look at the information and make a very knowledgeable decision based on my scientific knowledge. So, and the really neat thing was my oncologist thanked me. So
Cool.
how about that? Isn't that a great
Cool.
thing?
Yeah.
Yeah. And she's not a CLL specialist. The other thing is my CLL specialist is out on medical leave because his cancer returned.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he's a sweetheart. I love him. So
You're in a bit of a quandary there. So you're communicating with your doctors. You actually can't coordinate with your CLL specialist.
right.
And is there one coming in to help while yours is away?
Yes. But she's a general who is working with the CLL specialist up in Rochester, New York, and I'm in Jacksonville, Florida. I mean, Rochester, Minnesota, sorry. So.
You're
Is
not
it right?
exactly close by, either of them.
Yeah. Yeah. So.
So, Lisa, I'm glad that and I know your blood work's been improving, right? When you've gone in for tests.
Well, that was the other thing. So when I went into her, my ALC tripled, not just doubled, it tripled. And my white blood cell count jumped like 20,000 points. And I was feeling horrible. So that's when she said that. And I'm like, and I was not anemic at the time. But my iron stores in my bone marrow showed 0 iron stores, but I was not showing any signs of anemia. So that's what made me suggest that. I'm breaking out in a horrible sweat, sorry. That's what made me suggest it. You know, so if you're going to do this treatment anyway, if you were going to do the infusions along with the treatment, why don't we go ahead and do the infusion or the iron infusions first? See if it works. If it doesn't work, then we go into treatment. But don't go into treatment first. Exhaust every other resource first.
One other thing, Lisa, I know you're saying you're warm and you are in Florida as opposed to the Northeast, like some of us unfortunately are at this time of the year, but is that from your CLL? Yeah, that's starting to come back for me.
Sorry. Yes, it happened. I was in a meeting today for like 4 hours and it kept doing this. But I go through periods of this where I sweat and then I don't sweat. So it's very interesting.
Yeah, part of me has wondered if, I wish Tom Henry was here to ask this, if, first of all, if there's anything we can take so it doesn't happen, any kind of supplement, but also, and I am curious if there's, perhaps it's diet, perhaps it's wine, I don't know. Do multiple myeloma patients and PV, does this happen to you too? And Ashley, for your acute lymphoblastic leukemia, do you all get what they call night sweats, even though they can be any time of the day?
I get it because I'm in menopause. So I have like a little portable fan for my hot flashes. So you may want to invest in one of those. I think it's one of the best things that I bought because I get them all day.
Yeah, and by the way, guys, you can get these. It's not just like because it's a hot flash. Men can get these too. I don't know if any of you here have gotten them from your disease or from treatment, or perhaps from something else. I don't know, but it feels like
when you get it feels like hot flashes. It's just sort of like you feel just all of a sudden you're sweltering hot.
Yes.
So does it make your actual temperature? Does it make your body temperature go up or down?
No.
No, but you feel like you're an incinerator, or that there's a nuclear core melting in the middle of you. Does that explain it?
And yeah. Sweat just flies off of you. It's disgusting. It's horrible.
Al, do you get that?
You're muted, Al.
Okay, hang on. Yeah, so I've gotten it twice. One time last year, about in August, and there was another time this year, but just twice. So the one this year, I woke up in the middle of the night soaking wet. The room was spinning. and I was soaking wet. And that was the only time I've gotten it. That was it. The other times, I think Kenny could relate to this. I think they're hangovers.
I've had those. They're not fun.
Now, Al, we have seen your wife, and you did say it was in the middle of the night. So, we have seen her, and we know that that really, could have helped bring that on. Just saying.
No, I woke her up because I was like freaking
Well,
out.
of course you did. Oh, wait a minute. We're not talking about that anymore. Right. Back to what you were talking about.
Rita, have you gotten them with your CLL?
I haven't really gotten sweats, but I would get really hot, which was nice last winter because I moved from Florida to Nebraska, and I'm always freezing up here. So last year was pretty nice. Now that I'm on Imbruvica, I'm always cold. And I don't like it at all.
So it was a positive for you then.
Yeah, last year it was, yeah.
So I've got another question along this lines because this is outside of my area of familiarity, and I'm only going to be half smart assy on this. So so with this sort of thing, is it something that hormones? Is it a hormone issue because of the? I mean, I know it's a treatment issue, but does it affect hormones? We don't know, or yes, it does. Or we don't know.
Not like testosterone or estrogen or progesterone. It does.
For me, it does.
I would assume it does. If it's a similar symptom to, we need Tom. Where's Tom? If we, I would assume again that if it's something that gives you a reaction similar to hot flashes, that's a hormone issue, correct?
That's
hot
spikes.
flashes. Right. So if it's right, so if it's something that's similar to that, then it seems that this would be also. But again, I don't know. Having not expired, I haven't gone through menopause yet, so I don't know. I'm waiting.
Well, it isn't that we're going. It's not from menopause, or in Ashley's case, it could be from menopause, but or menopause.
As Alice pointed out, I have been hungover. So, and you have those morning sweats and your mouth is dry and been there. Like it feels like it's a mouth sweat. Man, that's something different. So, but either way, it's uncomfortable is what I'm hearing. That is not hormonal. So this is a whole different thing. So I'm wondering if there can be like a hormone treatment for this thing. I mean, has that topic ever been broached? I mean, because again, and actually, here's another question for women. So this leads to that. So treatment often, cancer treatment can lead to, for women anyways, can lead to early onset of menopause, correct? Actually, I think you told us this a month ago or two, right? So
Yeah.
So because of that, have you had a doctor talk to you about hormone therapy?
Hormone therapy isn't really gonna work for me. There is a medication that I took that's over the counter that was suggested to me by a doctor, but I took it. They say it's supposed to work after like 2 or 3 months.
Oh.
But I took it for like 6 months and it just didn't really work for me. So still have the hot flashes and they never went away. Got to deal with it.
So, Kenny, to your point, I know Lisa wants to. Actually, Lisa, why don't you? I know that you were going to say something on this. And David, hi. First of all, before that, hi, David. Welcome.
David.
Hi, David.
Hello. Nice to finally meet you, Lisa.
Nice to finally meet you, David. I got him on here. I'm like, you get on this call, darn it.
I'm not allowed to eat dinner tonight. I've got Chinese food tonight. Not allowed to eat it. Have to be here. I want to be here. Want to be
Still
here.
have my dinner
Yeah.
sitting here.
Love to hear, Lisa. I just got to point out. I love to hear that you're an advocate, and it's something that it's so many cancer patients and so many just not even cancer patients. Anybody kind of in any kind of situation in life really should learn how to become their own advocate, and um, it's a skill. It's not something that you're kind of taught. You're kind of taught to kind of go with the flow and accept what everybody else is telling you. And when I was originally diagnosed, I was not with a CLL specialist, and they were going to make me go through a whole bunch of tests. They were going to put me on an immediate chemotherapy, not chemoimmunotherapy, chemotherapy, because they didn't know the difference between acute and chronic leukemia. So they were thinking this is a medical emergency or something. So yeah, being an advocate, researching, and being able to say, no, I'm going to get a second opinion, or I'm going to get a third opinion, or or I'm going to, hey, listen, here's the data, here's the facts, and maybe having a discussion over it. I think the world needs more of that.
I agree. And it's strange because I took care of my mom and aunt, and my aunt was a World War II Army nurse, a highly intelligent woman. But every time she'd go to the doctor, it was like, oh, whatever the doctor says. And I'm going, no, no, don't. You need to take care of yourself. So I began being patient advocates because they just listen to whatever the doctor said and take it to heart. And it's like,
Yep.
you realize that is their job to be a doctor. They're not God. They're doctors. They're human beings, and they make mistakes too. So we need to take care of ourselves.
Yes.
Yeah. Michelle, you're muted. She hasn't even had a sip of wine.
I know.
I can't even see everybody. How do I get to see? Let's see. I think I see 5 other people. That's it.
She just saw her wine and the fumes got her. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, exactly. It might be because you're on an iPad.
Okay, that could be it.
Yeah.
I'll try to next time. I'll log in with my laptop.
I know there's a way that if you
There is a gallery view, yeah, and there's a gallery view on iPad. I know because I've done it before too.
Like if you push over the screen.
Although actually, to be fair, I've never done it on GoToMeeting. I did it on Zoom, but I'm assuming it's got a similar thing.
Yes, Zoom is. Let's see here. Well, I'll figure it out.
Lisa, you're making me warm watching you. Like
I have to go turn the air conditioning down. I'll be back in a minute.
Rita, what were you?
That's funny.
Mine says I can see 6 people, or I can set it up to view who's talking.
You're on an iPad?
On my cell phone, yeah.
Huh. I think David's trying right now on his technical issues. So there he is. We see you again, David. We didn't for a second, but now we see you again.
I'm here.
On hormone replacement therapy, I had asked, and it's different. There are different schools of thought on it, and some think that it's not such a good thing for cancer patients to go on hormone therapy because it could bring other problems to happen. So I guess you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't on that one. I don't know, but I don't know. Lisa, you're going to say it was, or Ashley, that it is hormone related when we have night sweats?
For menopause, yeah, it's related to the for the hormones.
And that would be something along the lines of course, the treatment will put you into menopause, but of course that's something different than what you're claiming you're experiencing when it's not menopause, right?
Right, because when I started treatment, it went away. When I was off treatment, I had it. And Lisa,
same for me, Michelle. Yep.
Yeah, there's something.
I went to my
Yeah, I was getting one. Was it off treatment also?
And I don't know if
Is that-
it's is it the cytokine storm that does it? I honestly don't know.
I think it has to do with the inability of our cells to communicate properly, and they get all jumbled. This is the best way I can explain it. They get all jumbled and they don't know what to do, and they release cytokines, the white blood cells, and everything gets all jumbled. And when we get stressed out, it releases the cytokines. So everything that we do throughout the day is going to affect us, and we have to remember that. And I am one of those, like Michelle, really high energy, go get them kind of person. And I'm having to pull back and try to calm down a little. That's what my doctor keeps telling me, just chill out. And I'm like, I'm not a chilled person. That's just not who I am. And they're like, but you have to. And I'm like, but I can't. So I go to my primary. She does the hormone panel test on me. Now I have to add some humor because we all need humor. We're all cancer patients. My husband, who's had the brain tumor, he has major hormonal issues because he doesn't have a pituitary tumor or pituitary gland anymore. So we go to the primary and she says, well, basically, I'm just going to tell you bottom line, I'm staring at two 17-year-old girls. And I went, what? She goes, that's what's wrong with you two. Your hormones are so out of balance. I'm staring at two 17-year-old teenage girls. And with that, I just lost it. And I went, that's what's wrong with me. Okay, now I get it. So I'm on a hormone patch, and that's for the estrogen. And I'm also on a cream for progesterone and testosterone. But I have to add this because I am not normal like the rest of you. I have had a hysterectomy, and I've had breast cancer. I've had a double mastectomy. I don't have any girl parts. So my primary said, you know what, at this point, I think it's best to do what you feel is best. So I said, let's try it and see what happens. So I just started the testosterone and progesterone cream a week ago, and I haven't. She said it would take a while, so I'll let you know on the next call.
So, and are you? Is this? And forgive me if I'm wrong. Is it ibrutinib that you're on? What are you? What are you on?
I'm not on anything at the moment. I'm staying out of treatment.
Oh, okay.
I'm on Rituxan. I did
Okay.
6 out of 10 rounds of Rituxan. I was one of the lucky ones to get microscopic colitis after taking care of my mom for 10 years who had radiation colitis.
Yikes! I'm so sorry. So along those lines, I mean, and not to leave the guys out, have you fellas, since you've been on treatment, and we've got some myeloma dudes in here too. Have y'all had any experience with lowered hormone levels, your testosterone levels being well below what your doctor that it otherwise would be, or had you even had that chat? Have you experienced fatigue from your treatments, or the cancer itself? But have you had experienced fatigue and asked that question, like, should I feel this fatigue? Should I be okay with this side effect?
Fatigue seems.
That's not a conversation I've had. I haven't noticed. I used to be, before I started treatment, I had sensitivity to the sun. The heat was terrible. After I started treatment, it got a lot better. But I wouldn't even know to ask that question, because I guess, 41, not really. I guess I'm not worried about that. I haven't had any. I don't know what I don't know what the symptoms would be.
Well, let me ask you this: have you had any fatigue?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
and I mean, and that's post treatment, obviously, right?
Well,
I mean, Seth, how about you?
I'm on Calquence.
Okay, and Seth, what are you currently on right now?
As far as my primary,
your primary treatment right now. I mean, I know where you are. I didn't catch what you're on right now.
yeah, it's a combination of a couple of MABs, nivolumab and daratumumab. Dara? Yeah, Dara.
Right. Yeah, Dara, right.
I have been I do have low testosterone, but as far as what's the cause, it's a toss-up.
Sure.
That whether I don't know if that's a primary cause of my treatment, but I'm also type 2 diabetic, which I'm told can contribute to that. As far as fatigue, I deal with plenty of fatigue, which is a common symptom of my treatment. And it's also so many of the drugs I'm taking could also be causing that as well.
Sure. So again, you know that you have low hormones? So you said so I'm assuming you've had it checked, your hormone, your testosterone levels.
Yeah.
Do you have any idea what your numbers are at?
No, it's been quite a while, but I was never concerned enough to do any treatment for it.
Yeah. And I mean, I know Rick, Rick, of course, didn't have a blood cancer, but he also, I mean, he's experienced hormone therapy himself. Rick, you want to talk to that?
This is a conversation we have very frequently in our prostate cancer, the advanced and recurrent prostate cancer cause and high risk, because the standard treatment usually involves taking all the testosterone out of your body. And I did that for a good 30 months. So I became very familiar with all the symptoms of menopause, hot sweats, water retention, fatigue, depression, you name it. I got the T-shirt.
Did you use estrogen blockers also?
No, I only used a drug that blocks both. Well, I shouldn't say that. When you said estrogen blockers, I was thinking you were meaning estrogen receptor blockers. So I didn't use estrogen receptor blockers or testosterone receptor blockers. The drug that I was on was an LHRH drug, which stops you producing both estrogen and testosterone. So I wasn't producing it, rather than having it in my system and blocking it from going to the receptor. So a drug like tamoxifen blocks the estrogen, or a drug like enzalutamide blocks the testosterone. I was never on one of those drugs. A couple of things that we found very helpful. I mean, there are a number of drugs if men are suffering from sweats, that they can use, which will stimulate the estrogen to help regulate again. But more effective than that, I personally think is acupuncture. So a lot of men have got, and there's good studies on this both for men and for women, in using acupuncture to control hot sweats. And it doesn't work for everybody, but for those where it does work, it's effective, and it does not require any medication. The big issue with it is it only lasts for about 2 to 3 weeks. So it means you have to keep going back to the acupuncturist. But the acupuncturists know where the points are to control some of these issues. So that's definitely worth looking into.
So, yeah, let's see. I did do that. I went religiously once a week, and maybe it did help, but I still had them pretty badly. And like you said, it does help with a lot of people, though. And I'm a huge believer in acupuncture with that.
Yeah.
With a lot of folks.
So exercise is a lot of the guys too do find exercise helpful. We encourage them to exercise, and when they start exercising, they find that it does reduce the symptoms. But exercise means you've got to get your heart rate up to a reasonably high level and hold it there for about 10-15 minutes to make that difference. So, it's no good just going out for a walk around the block. Have to do a little more than that. But I'm really empathetic, and this is very surprising to me to hear this conversation in the blood cancer group.
Well, it's interesting. So I myself have some personal experience with this. As some of you know, I'm actually well, fairly active. I'm pretty active, and some people might say I do some extreme things. So I've been running and doing, well, just endurance sports in general, and swimming, for a long time. So I turned 50 this year, and I've been doing endurance sports of some sort: cycling, running, swimming, and also team sports since I was 13 years old. And so as I got older, I progressed in doing longer and longer stuff. And so now I run ultra marathons, which means anything more than a marathon, 26.2 miles. And I've run 50 milers. I've run across the state. And this is stuff that I've done actually since I've had my bone marrow transplant in 2015. But one of the challenges that I had while being on treatment, and I am still on treatment, I'm on Revlimid currently. For those of you who are familiar with Revlimid, and I am slowly failing. I've been on it 5.5 years, so I'm well over the average of people before they start to fail on that. So I'm starting to eke out of that right now. But it has affected my testosterone levels, and I don't know whether they don't know whether it was a combination of the other stuff that I've been on over the years, or whether it was straight because of just that. But my activity levels, and I don't know if these numbers mean anything to you, but my activity levels and my age, they expected my testosterone levels to be between, I think they said 1,000 and 1,200. Is what it was. With untreated, they will dip below 200. And so it affects different people in different ways. It's just sort of genetic makeup and so forth. So I started 2.5 years ago. I started on hormone therapy, which is weekly injections of which my 16-year-old daughter is actually the one who gives me the shots, because everybody else in my house is too squeamish to do it, and I can't give them to myself in my butt. So I have to have my 16-year-old daughter give me a shot in the butt, which is, we've gotten past the embarrassment part 2 years ago. But honestly, it has changed. I shouldn't say changed my life, but it brought me back to life by doing that sort of stuff. So at times I think and I am on an estrogen blocker, because again, adding that to it, my body is going to have a response to increase estrogen production, because there's an increase in testosterone that's being brought into my system. And so that I don't have unwanted side effects, I do take an estrogen blocker. But I have had experiences and times when I have had, I don't know what you call them, hot flashes, but I have definitely woken up in a pool of sweat sometimes in the middle of the night, and I don't know why. And I'm assuming that that's related. And it sounds like you all have at least more of a basis for understanding this or experience with that, or rationale for it, than I do. So that's really good to hear. I would suggest if you guys, gals, have experienced similar fatigue to the point where your inactivity level is going down, that you at least have the conversation with a physician who specializes in hormone therapy, and of course talk to your oncologist at the same time. Let them know what you're thinking about, what you're talking about. It doesn't hurt to ask the question. Seth, who did you talk to a hormone specialist, or was it your oncologist who took your numbers? Do you remember?
It's been a while. I'm not sure. It was a specialist. I assume he was a hormone specialist, but it's been
he specialized in something.
It's been at least 3 years, so I don't recall. But it hasn't really been. It just hasn't been a big issue for me. I do occasionally wake up with a sweaty pillow, and I'm not sure if what I experience is a hot flash. It's certainly not on the level of what Lisa was describing, but I do find myself occasionally, I'll have heat up for a bit and it'll pass quickly. but it hasn't been something that I felt I needed to seek treatment for.
So this is an interesting conversation in the sense that we started talking about, or at least a while ago, we were talking about communication with our oncologist or primary care physician or what have you. And I was curious, listening to everybody, how does that conversation take place with your oncologist? And are they open to that kind of a conversation about things like testosterone or night sweating, or is it, yeah, okay, I hear
I
you.
mean, I think it's going to be anecdotal, Richard, is my guess, because it's going to depend on the oncologist and the patient. Because my oncologist was very open to it. They were very aware of who I was and what it is that I do and what was important to me in my life. And so I have a feeling that it probably depends partly on how aware, I should say, your oncologist is of all those things. Paying attention to, because I know that for a while, and I just learned this stuff, so I guess I can relay this. I shouldn't say just learned. I learned this over the past couple of years. Of course, there was a myth within the cancer community that the testosterone treatment increases your likelihood of cancer. Now, I know that there is some difference with, Rick, you can speak to this probably, and I cannot, but I know that there were some challenges within the prostate cancer community along those lines, but not with any of the other cancers. And I'm assuming it's because that's where, well, guys, that's kind of where a lot of the testosterone kind of gets treated, and there's a focus there, right? So, but again, there still was no definitive or conclusive evidence that testosterone treatment caused any other cancers or caused an existing cancer to metastasize. There was actually no evidence of that. It was just an assumption, because there were secondary cancers that came out, but they really didn't put anything behind it that the testosterone treatment actually caused it at all. There was just an assumption for a long time, and it propagated for a couple of decades.
I'd like to actually jump in and pivot off of this communication issue, because there's an issue that I know Al has been wrestling with, because he's talked to me about it several times. And there's great experience on this call, at least 4 of you. And I really would like to dig in a little bit to see what you can contribute. And the issue is that when you have a quarterback oncologist, whether they're in Phoenix or they're in Atlanta or they're in Rochester, Minnesota, or wherever they are, and you need to get treatment locally, you need to have somebody locally who is going to watch over you, is going to do your tests, is going to take care of any emergencies if something crops up. How do you deal with that issue? I mean, I know Kenny's in that situation, Lisa's in that situation, maybe Rita is too. Seth is not, because you're close enough to Memorial Sloan Kettering that you just have to go up on the path, take the path and go up on the subway. And David too. But there's a lot of people. Ashley is also in that situation where her main doc is in Memorial Sloan Kettering, but she's got to have somebody locally. How are you guys figuring out who to get locally, and how are you making sure that they're willing to communicate with the doc at the institution where your quarterback doctor is?
So I'll just speak for me. I have to travel an hour and a half to see my oncologist, Dr. Lamana. If I'm sick, like earlier this year, I caught a really bad flu. Woke up with a fever of 105. That's not fun to go through. And a few days later, Advil, Tylenol, go to the doctor, my local doctor here, and then just kind of, inform my oncologist of it. But if I have to go see my oncologist every 3 months, I put on a double mask, make sure I sanitize after I have to take like 3 or 4 different trains to get up there. But I take all the safety precautions I have to. Hasn't been an issue. Just doing what I have to do.
Lisa, how did you get your PCP to coordinate? Sounds like your PCP is taking care and ordering the tests that you need for the folks at Mayo. I mean, how did you make that happen?
This year has just been such a brutal year. I just had it and I said, look, people, I am done. I have taken care of everybody in my family. My husband's had the brain surgery. I've been through 2 first-line cancer treatments. I have had it. You guys need to coordinate this stuff between my primary and Mayo. You get it straight.
Oh, I think Lisa just froze on us.
And you call me back.
Oh,
I had to be keen. Uh-oh, we all froze.
Yeah.
Oh no.
No, that's okay. You're back with us, Lisa. And Lisa, how was your PCP willing to do that? I mean, you went in, you asserted what you want. We love that, especially at AnCan. And she was, or he or she was willing to pick up the slack and do it.
Well, I'm in Jacksonville, Florida, which is a military location, and my primary happens to be a real, pardon my language, she's a badass with a big heart. And she is a military gal, and she wants what's best for her client or her patient. And she just called over there and she says, you're going to make this happen. You're an infusion center. You can make it happen. Give her the iron infusions.
Yeah.
And if you can't, I'll find somebody that'll do it for her.
Yeah.
So that's, you just treat it like business. That's all you do.
Right. No, I mean, Kenny, how do you coordinate between Atlanta and Asheville?
Well, honestly, it's challenging. I'm thankfully they've actually done a really good job. Emory's had a good job of trying to increase the amount of this kind of conversation again. But there was some nervousness, interesting, at the beginning of this whole thing with communicating with Emory over virtually, because again, I'm in a different state, so there was a concern that there was some sort of out of district concern that they weren't allowed to talk to me because of another state, which wasn't true. But there was that initial upset. But yeah, so we are. There's some waving going on. Yeah, there's way too much activity.
Sorry.
I'm curious for Ashley, why where you are, they couldn't have done the bone marrow. Was that discussed to do the bone marrow biopsy and the results? They do it under the guidance of Memorial Sloan Kettering and then send them the results.
My care has been transferred to an oncologist down here. I'm in North Carolina. But they specifically told me that they wanted me to go there for the bone marrow biopsies. So I just have this one, and I have one more for the 2-year after transplant in April. So that's the only other one that I have to go for.
What's interesting is in some of the different docs I've interviewed, some are very, very open and happy to speak with someone's community doctor. I just interviewed one this past week, but it was in lung cancer, but he said he highly suggests people go to the closest place they can for their treatments because it will be easier and healthier for the patient, and that they will work with people remotely. However, others I've spoken with don't feel that way. And, somewhat, Ashley, a little bit like what you said, they want the test done at their own hospitals under their own guidance. Rita, do you have a local CLL specialist? I know that you've moved to the
Not a
Hinterland, right?
specialist. No, not a specialist, but I love my hematology oncologist. And he has been right on the money with everything I have read and heard. And he's very up to date on everything. So I feel very comfortable with him, but he's still an hour drive for me because I live in a very rural area. So I have to drive an hour to Lincoln to go see him. Because I had melanoma, I have to get CAT scans, PET scans, and MRIs often. They're easing up on that now, though. But most of that, I've been able to go to the local hospital, which is 30 miles away. So I haven't had to travel to.
What words of advice do you have for Al, who's still trying to figure out who locally in Tucson, which is 150 miles away from Mayo,
Isn't there an
who he's going
MDM?
to get locally?
Oh, and MDM Anderson's in Phoenix, isn't it?
Right. So well, MD Anderson and Mayo are both in Phoenix. MD Anderson is in Phoenix
Okay.
and Mayo is in Phoenix. But in Al's case, he's at Mayo in Phoenix, and he's struggling to get good care locally, and it resulted in. I'm sorry to speak for you, Al, but I want to get you to talk for yourself, but you don't do it. But it finished up in the hospital a month ago because the local guys weren't on top of it.
They won't work with him? They
Al.
won't work with him?
Now we have. I'm with Manda now, Rick. I don't know if I told you. I'm back with Manda, and he's getting the results of my lab work, and he's willing to work with Dr. Palmer at Mayo.
Oh, great. Okay. Okay.
When
Well,
I,
I mean, go ahead.
sorry, when I first moved here, I had the option to go to MD Anderson in Phoenix if I needed to. I had a friend that lived there, and she said I could stay with her and go there to see a doctor. When I first moved here and I started with this hematology oncologist, I told him that, and he said, if you want to do that, he says, I will work with you and work with them.
Right. I mean, we do find, I mean, in a lot of the groups, we find these issues in groups where it's really important that you have a specialized oncologist, whether it's for prostate cancer, whether it's for a type of blood cancer, wherever it is. It's a very common problem trying to get the specialist doctor to work with the local doctor.
The specialist won't work with them, or the local doctor won't work with them?
Usually it's the local doctor that won't.
Rick, I think I would agree with you in that in my own experience, I have a local oncologist who happens to be a hematologist and a specialist in multiple myeloma. And she's quite willing to work with a backup second opinion research physician in Boston.
Mhm.
And that relationship has gone just smoothly. Part of the reason for that is that Dana-Farber in Boston has now reached out to many of the cancer clinics in the metro area and have established formal relationships to make that interaction smoother. However, when I look at other medical problems that I have experienced that are a result of whatever, I often think of them as a result of the medications that I'm taking. So finding a chest medicine, someone that can help me with breathing issues. My uh, physician just, yeah, you can call so-and-so, or you can call this one. There's this real sense of not involved, not really caring, um, and on it goes. So in the cancer side of things, it's fine. In the sort of non-cancer medical side of things, that's a whole different, I have experienced anyway, a different ballgame.
You see,
I
one
agree
of the
with that.
problems, one of the
I agree
problems,
with that.
go ahead. Go ahead, Rita, and then
I
I'll talk.
I agree with the non-specialist or the non-cancer side of it being a problem because I haven't found a good local doctor yet for my primary care.
Mm,
I've been here 8
mm,
years and I
wow.
haven't found a doctor I really can say I love.
I mean, you see, one of the issues that is very prevalent in prostate cancer because of the hormone therapy is that the hormone therapy causes all kinds of systemic changes in the body, which a lot of the oncologists, even though they're trained in internal medicine, they're not up on that. So there may be liver issues, or there may be heart issues.
Right.
And so it's very important in my mind that you are with a doctor where if your treatment is causing systemic comorbidities, that they are either willing to treat that themselves or willing to refer you. And sometimes we'll find docs, prostate cancer docs, who say, well, I've got a guy in mind in particular from Mayo in Rochester. And he's turned around to patients who say, well, I don't know anything about that, but he's the one that's prescribing the hormone therapy. So the hormone therapy causes all these problems. And when the problems arise, the doctor says, well, that's not my field. Well, he shouldn't be prescribing the drug if it's not his field. Or
Exactly.
he should have somebody lined up to refer to somebody, but don't just
Blow
slough
it
it
off.
off as being not my problem.
Yeah. But that very often, at least in my experience, has been the case. I hear this, well, I really don't know a whole lot about X. I really don't know a lot about testosterone. She should know a lot about it. And I've looked at her and said, well, we can both look at the internet and become. She didn't like that, but my response was not repeatable.
Yeah. Yeah.
So one thing I found is what you're saying, your PCP and all your other doctors that you could end up having to see for whatever, even with CLL, it can affect your eyes, your hearing. And if they don't understand the nature of the beast, they'll treat you just like any other person. And we're special. That's how I try to think. We're very special. But it really does matter for some of those things. And I'm sure it's the same. And you were saying like counts for liver and if you've been on treatment for various things. So it is very interesting. And, we had considered moving recently and didn't because, I am so lucky in that I am so close to this medical center. Well, in Boston, there are so many medical centers and great medicine versus not having anyone close. I just chatted with Kenny that I am so lucky and that I'm 9 miles from Dana-Farber. I'm like 3 miles from Mass General. It's just, I'm lucky. I know that. So I wish the rest of you could be that close to places.
Right.
I'm
Yeah.
25 miles to the nearest hospital and doctor's office.
Yeah, I am too, Rita. So I empathize.
So
I'm
what do you
probably
do?
40 miles to the nearest hospital. There's a quasi hospital halfway along the line, but you don't want to go there.
Right. Yeah. I have an urgent care in my town, but it's another 20 miles to the hospital. So
I have to go 20 miles to go grocery shopping. So,
yeah. while.
And Lisa, are you relatively close to things?
I'm 10 minutes away from everything.
So
Either
you're,
way.
you said
Mayo,
you're in Jackson. You're in Jacksonville. Everything is in Jacksonville.
Jacksonville. We have everything. We do. You know, when I got diagnosed, I was trying to keep it positive, which is hard. But I finally one night said, you know what? If I'm going to have blood cancer, I'm in the best location possible. I'm in a place where there's Mayo Clinic. So, you know, that's what I tried to do at least. But I'm only 10 minutes away from just about everything I need to go to, which is pretty good, 10 to 15. So.
And Seth, you said it was a bit of a ride, but not that bad for you.
Well, things have changed with COVID. As Rick said, usually I just get on the PATH train and get over to Sloan Kettering, a 2-train ride to Sloan Kettering, but I'm still, I'm not taking public transportation during COVID. So I would rather drive to a facility in suburban New Jersey than drive into New York City. So it's become a ride, yes. But
I
not,
know that Hackensack has a couple of CL specialists, Hackensack University Medical Center.
well, fortunately,
Seth has multiple myeloma, though.
Apologies.
and Karen
Sorry.
has a few facilities in Jersey that I can drive to.
So for your everyday care, you do have places close by then.
Yeah, listening to this, I know how fortunate I am. Not only do I have access to Sloan Kettering, but I have access to a whole universe of their physicians who can help me with all the various specialties that I need. Not everything, but you know, if I need to see if I have a problem that requires a consultation with one specialty or another, chances are they can refer me to someone on staff. And I prefer that because one, they approach their specialty with the specialty that they know about it for cancer patients, and I trust them. I think they're pretty darn good if they work for Kettering.
So that is great. That is great.
It is.
Al, do you live near Rick? So you also have the same.
No. Rick is about 40 miles south of where I live, but I have a really good relationship with my primary doctor, which he's really good friends and has a good relationship with my hematologist. However, it's Dr. Manda who found what I had in January. So he did my blood work earlier twice, once in January and once in February. After that, I was turned over to Banner, and then from there, Mayo. And I was having my lab work done here, and it was being sent to Mayo. And talked about this last time, but some of you weren't here. So as it was getting sent to Mayo, I don't think they were getting it, or somebody wasn't reading it. I don't know, but I was on the medication, the hydroxyurea, and I think my numbers leveled out, and nobody said nothing, so I kept taking it, and I just basically poisoned myself. And we're on the patient portal, so we started sending them messages telling them some of the symptoms I had. So I guess the nurse grabbed my lab work, and she called me on a Tuesday, which I think it was that weekend. I told my wife, I said, you know, something's going on. I said, I don't feel right. Either I'm going to call an ambulance or drive down to emergency. And she called me on Tuesday and told me, you know, you need to get over to emergency ASAP. You need a blood transfusion. Your hemoglobin is down to like a 5.6. And so I went in and ended up having 3 units and was let go 3 days later. After that, Banner, like car salesmen, they were hounding me, calling me to make appointments with them. Little did they know I already had a doctor up at Mayo, and that's who I wanted to go with. But what happened, I was a little upset. I felt let down, and I told both my doctor and I mentioned it to Rick. I expect an apology from them, or I'm going to go to Banner. I'm going to stay here in Tucson with Banner. And per Rick, he says, I would suggest you stay at Mayo. And my primary doctor also said, you got in. He goes, some people can't even get in. He says, I would say you stay there. He says, so I was convinced to stay there. And the week that I was in the hospital, I had a video chat scheduled with my doctor from Mayo. So when they called me and told me you're up in about 15 minutes, and I said, no, I said, that's not going to happen. I said, I'm in the hospital right now. So they scheduled it for the week after. And when we did get on video chat, again, the same doctor who said she might be wrong, but she's going to treat me for PV. She was very sincere, couldn't apologize enough on what happened, explained to me what happened, and due to COVID, they changed their whole system. So somewhere along the line, my stuff fell through the cracks. She apologized. She said in her next meeting she was going to raise a red flag. They either go back to the old system or change the system they have now, because this is a prime example of what's happening. And I was trying to, at the same time, since I had been in the hospital at Banner and they were hounding me, I tried to meet with I did meet with the hematologist once, and I called back and I was asking if he would be willing to work with Dr. Palmer at the Mayo Clinic in Phoenix. And the response I got was, well, they're both going to have different opinions. That's not what I wanted to hear. So I spoke with my doctor and my primary doctor here. So he said, you need to get back with Dr. Manda. And so I made an appointment with Dr. Manda, and it took me, a couple weeks to get in to see him, which I did. And yes, piece of cake. He's not got no problem. He's dealt with Dr. Palmer before. He's more than happy to work with, watch my lab work here, and at the same time, it'll be sent up to Mayo in Phoenix. So I got my primary doctor here, I got my hematologist here, and I do my video chats with Dr. Palmer from Mayo.
Who, by the way, has a specialized PV group. They're one of, I guess, the few hospitals in the country that have a specialized group in PV.
Wow. So yeah, that's a great place to stay. Before I forget, I know that we usually ask if people would like to receive information from AnCan and notifications of our meetings. If you could put in the chat your email to Rick, that would be great, or to me. We would love to have your emails to add you to the list. We promise we will not be sending you things for specials on knives or any of, I don't even know what they are now. Masks, maybe 10 for $1 and they fall apart. I have no clue, but it'll just be information from AnCan.
Thank
Al?
you.
I have another question.
You can have a lot of questions.
Did everyone get their flu shot?
My CL specialist does not recommend getting a flu shot. It doesn't do anything for us because we can't build antibody resistance. We can't create antibodies. So it's basically for CLL patients at least.
Okay. Yeah, because my doctor wants me to get the shingles shot. Do you, any of you get the shingles
the live
shot?
vaccine?
Right.
Okay, so flu shot, mine said absolutely, and has every year, my CLL specialist and others that I know. That's very interesting, David.
Me too.
And because we are immune compromised.
Yes.
So yours has a very odd. Rita, I couldn't hear you.
my doctor and I discussed the flu shot, and because I always got sick with them, like the whole winter, he said, "Then don't get it now."
That's what I told my doctor. I've gotten them in the past, and every time I've gotten the flu shot, I've always gotten sick, but I've never had the flu.
Right. I mean, so it's just symptoms because it can't actually the dormant flu can't give you the flu. It can give you symptoms. It can't give you the flu.
I had the flu and turned into pneumonia, and I landed in the hospital, and that was before I knew I had CLL. But like I said, every time I've gotten the shot, the flu shot, I was a hairstylist, and every time a person came in sick, 2 weeks later, I was sick as a dog and missed a couple weeks of work. So I don't want to take that chance again. I do much better without
What difference does it make?
vitamin
Why not
C.
just go ahead and get the flu? I mean, take the shot. What difference does it make? It's a little pinch of heart. It's not going to hurt you, and it may help you. You know?
So we heard a very, I heard a very interesting theory on this, and I can't really speak to blood cancers. I can speak to some of the solid tumor cancers. But there are certain doctors out there who recommend get every possible vaccine shot that you can get, because the more vaccine shots that you the more it activates your immune system. So each one of these shots helps to stimulate your immune system, and so they feel very positive about getting a shingles shot, getting a pneumonia shot, getting a flu shot. I don't know. Don't shoot the messenger. I'm just repeating what I've heard. So
Yeah, because of our compromised immune systems, that's what I've heard, that it's just extra protection and that it's more than just the flu. I actually read the sheet they gave me this year. I never have before. And it listed a whole bunch of things that it helps you not get, including, I have to go back and read it. I want to say it says something about pneumonia. I could be wrong, but there was more than the flu.
Sorry, I've had all my vaccinations. I made sure of that. The Shingrix, the Prevnar 13, the flu. But the one thing I did say on Facebook was, if you go to Walgreens and you're under the age of 65, they will not give you the 65 plus flu shot. They don't care if you have blood cancer. They will not give it to you. So that's something. Yeah, that's interesting. But can I?
It's interesting you say it, Lisa, because I actually asked about that this year. I mean, not at the pharmacy, but at the doctor's office. They said this year there is no difference. It's one.
Really?
They said it was one.
Because my husband had a different one than I did.
They said there was no difference. It's the same shot. I mean, it's the same stuff, same dosage, same. It's the same one.
Well, that is interesting.
Because I asked about it, because normally I have someone tell them. They said it very often, probably more often over the past like 10 years or something like that. I was told by one of the doctors that more often than not there is no difference. They may give it to you at different times, but there's no difference. I went, really? I was surprised too. I just heard this like a couple of weeks ago when I got my flu shot, or a month ago when I got my flu shot.
Yeah. Okay, thanks. I have a question for the CLL group. IVIG. How many of you get IVIG treatment?
But your levels have to warrant it.
Right.
David,
Well,
level.
Mine are tanked, but my CLL specialist said, no, I don't do them. I think they're Band-Aids. And he said, he feels strongly that we should challenge our bodies. That's his mindset. So I'm sitting there in a panic, when you're first diagnosed, I'm going, you want to challenge a body that doesn't have an immune system, but I'm doing okay.
What does your doctor mean by challenge your body? What does that mean?
Make your body step up to the plate and work harder. Like he's saying, if we get the IVIG treatments, it's kind of like giving a hug to your immune system, like, oh, it's okay, instead of getting out there and being tough on your own, kind of. I don't know how else to put it. But he said it's a good idea to challenge our immune systems to a point. Don't be stupid. And I seem to be doing okay, even though my what is it, IgG, I think it is, is tanked totally.
Yeah, mine is too. I have low IgG and low IgM. So that's 2 out of 3. And what's been amazing about this whole staying home and isolating in COVID is I haven't gotten sick since March, not even a cold. So it's amazing for me because everybody is wearing a mask. Everybody is at least here in New Jersey, where I am. I don't know about Jacksonville, hopefully. Yeah, I'm worried if I get sick, God forbid I got the coronavirus with such low levels of IgG and IgM. I don't know. I just read an article that a woman with leukemia spread coronavirus around for 70 days because she didn't know, her body couldn't fight it couldn't mount an immune response to the coronavirus. So she didn't even know. And when you feel the side effects of the flu is when your body reacts, when you have an immune reaction. So it's interesting to see that somebody had leukemia and she spread COVID for 70 days because her body's immune system is so suppressed that it just can't fight it. It doesn't know what to do.
Yeah.
So was that your CLL specialist, Lisa?
Yes.
It was. That's very interesting. So
Shannon Khan, Dr. Shannon Khan.
like Chaka Khan.
Yes, but Shannon. Yeah. Yep.
So I did not get it for many years, and I just continued. Anything that would walk by me, I would catch. So I had asked for it a few times, and after, let me think this through, how many years it took. I think 6 years. Finally, one day, my CLL specialist said, why aren't you on IGIV? And I was just like, what? And like, I don't know. Why aren't I? It's like, your levels are horrible. And I wanted to say, yes, so why didn't you put me on it? So anyway, I am on it. I have been, and it has been a game changer for me. David, are you still on it, or did you stop in March?
I stopped in March because they had to shut down the hospital to non-emergency and elective procedures. And when they restarted it again in the summer, they tested my IgG levels, and actually they got worse. So IVIG has not helped me whatsoever, which is shocking. I think I've gotten 4 infusions. And it hasn't helped me whatsoever.
But you hadn't had it in a while when they tested again, or you're saying each time you had it, they tested and it didn't?
No, my last treatment was in February, and they tested me again in June.
It would have been out of your system though, because they had told me that if you don't have it for a few months,
Could be, yeah.
well, maybe 3 months, then
There should have been. I shouldn't be worse though. So
no. And you're on treatment, right?
Yeah, on Calquence. And I was on Imbruvica for 2 years. So
I get mine at home. When that happened, they had me start getting it at home. So I didn't really lapse. So, but yeah, it really has helped. But then again, like you said, the last 6 months,
yeah,
I've been doing what I should have been doing probably before, or other people are. So it helps.
I haven't been sick since February. And I take Himalayan neem, which is what my CLL specialist told me to take. He says, I don't want you doing IG. I want you to challenge your body. And if you take Himalayan neem, and he gave me the specific brand to take, he said, I promise you, you will not get sick. You'll be okay. And I didn't believe it because I was sick every single week of my life for the last 5 years, 10 years. Like constantly sick because I traveled through airports all the time for my work. And I started taking the Himalayan. I've only been sick once. since February, and that I think I had COVID. So it's working for me, and everybody's different.
Does anyone else have, I see it's getting late. Does anyone have anything else that they want to share with us or that's weighing on them?
I do want to share one thing. I'm still singing in the cathedral choir. I'm still singing in a cathedral choir, and we have had 3 people test positive for COVID. I'm not sick. I'm still negative. And I keep my distance. I'm smart. We wear our masks. Nobody in the choir got COVID in the choir. They got it from being stupid and going out of town and doing stupid things. So, but I had to share that I am out there living. I did a water intrusion study today. I was around mold like crazy. I'm challenging my body. But smart. I wore a mask the entire time. So I may be stupid, but I love my work. So,
What kind of
At the,
mask are you wearing?
Oh, it was just a surgical mask. Nothing great.
Al?
at the
Oh.
cathedral,
Yes.
does everybody there wear a mask?
Yes, it is mandatory.
Okay,
Yes.
I'm our church organist, and and um, half the time I don't get to go because people do not wear a mask at church at all. Well, at, some weeks we have people, and some weeks like nobody wears, and it made me very, very leery. Now
Yes.
I do sit behind the organ, away from everyone, but I'm still very leery. I keep my mask on, but and the strangest part is the people that never wear them are the old ladies, the really old ladies.
Yeah.
But this whole area is totally against wearing a mask, and they're fighting it tooth and nail, and they just refuse.
So a while back, about a month ago, I had the video chat with my doctor from Mayo, Dr. Palmer, and she asked how I was taking care of myself from COVID. And I brought up the conversation we had talking on the support group here that we all need to be careful because if we get it, it's like we're done. And she said that they've have had several cancer patients that have had COVID and they got through it pretty well. So keep your fingers crossed. Be safe.
One of the Facebook support groups, there's been several people have mentioned they've had it, they pulled through. There was a study I read done in England. I think 90% of us with CLL that get COVID land in the hospital, and 50% don't make it. Now that was probably a couple of months ago. I read that.
I asked my
I don't know.
oncologist at the beginning of the crisis what's happening with his other patients, and he said that even with the myeloma patients who do come down with COVID, the majority of them still are mild cases.
That's good to know.
We have a friend who has Waldenstrom's, which is a blood cancer, and he and I both, we think, had it at the same time when my husband was in Mayo. He did fine, and I did fine. We were both sick. This is this really interesting thing. We were both sick 7 days, 2 days pretty bad, like we were both in bed for 2 days. I couldn't go see my husband for 2 days. But other than that, we were okay. I pray to God I didn't make other people sick when I went to Mayo. I didn't know then at the time what I thought I had. until I found out after I was better that the person I sat in front of in choir happened to test positive for COVID, and nobody communicated that with us. So that's the other thing with this whole thing with COVID. A lot of people don't communicate with us that they're sick. And we find out, a week later when it's too late. So we just all have to be smart and wear our masks.
Well, I've been teaching a dance class, and it's in a big hall, and I've had 3 students. Two of the students and myself are good at wearing a mask. The third one, she won't wear it. Well, sure enough, I saw her on Tuesday night for dance class, saw her that following morning for coffee. That Sunday, I learned she's sick in bed, but having been to work all week with fever and I don't know what else. So I started texting her, and she's like, I said, did you get tested? She says, no, I might go Monday if I don't feel better. So needless to say, I've canceled dance classes. I'm not teaching them in person anymore. And I quarantined for 2 weeks after that, just in case.
Well, that is being smart, Rita. And
Yeah.
it is getting pretty late here, folks. So we're going to wrap up tonight. I'd like to remind those who have not sent their emails for Rick that you do. And also to remind you that next month is, I think, is it December 5th? I have to look at no, today is November 5th. So the first Thursday in December is December 3rd. So that will be our next meeting. Hope to see you all then.
Where do we send the email? Where do we send the email?
You can send it. I have most of you. I don't have you, Rita. Send it to info@ancan.org.
Where info?
An email.
In an email?
Yeah, just send me an email, info@ancan.org, and we'll get you on the list for a reminder. Alpha Nancy, Charlie Alpha Nancy, or you can go to our website and sign up yourself. I have a very important question for Seth. This was your first support group meeting. How was it? Will you come back?
Yes, absolutely.
Great, great.
This was my first too.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh my gosh, 2 virgins. Oh my gosh. Well, I hope you enjoyed it. We don't bite. And I think, we believe at AnCan that there is nothing that can replace peer support. And I hope you will grow to believe that too.
Yeah, I don't know anybody else with myeloma, so it's great to be able to exchange stories and information and experiences.
Well, Seth, welcome. We're a sense of sharing in common is really, really, really important. So, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
And wear your mask.
I have a friend in North Carolina that also has CLL, and I think next time I'll send him a message so he can join us too.
Fantastic.
Please do.
We love it. We love it. And Al, you may get a note from somebody who has PV before too long.
Yes.
Okay.
That's right. I would connect you with Rick, with this person, so that we can get to the 2 of you to talk. And Rita, maybe someday we'll get a dance lesson.
Hopefully Tuesday, you and I.
Good
If I
night,
get
everyone.
everything working.
This is good practice for that. Happy Thanksgiving to everyone.
Happy Thanksgiving.
And good night, and everybody. I hope you have a healthy 4 weeks. We'll see you next month.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, Michelle.
Bye.